Hi, so we're gonna go over the Shark Frenzy game. Right now I got my starter project. You want to make sure you have a starter project because we do have some files, some background images and sharks and whatnot that you'll need. So that's one reason why it's important to have the starter project. So if you remember, our game is going to consist, first of all, we're going to need a screen. So we're going to click this plus button here to add a screen. And it's just going to be a blank screen. There we go. It's called screen 1. We still have those files there. Nothing's changed. But if we notice from that screen, we start up with a label. So we just drag it on here. This label is pretty much going to be our score. You don't have to rename it, but it's a good habit to kind of rename your components. So I'll call this score label. I'm just going to call this score :0. There we go. And next thing we're actually going to need a canvas. So we'll just drag this canvas. And you can drag it over here, or you can drag it over here on the side. I'm just going to drag mine over here. And just kind of pay attention. You see how that blue line kind of appears sometimes? No, it's not. There it is. So that tells me that my canvas is going to be underneath my score, which is what I want. Okay, I don't have to rename the canvas because we're only going to have one canvas, and that's where everything's going to take place. Then the last thing we're going to need is a button. You can add a button, and once again, just pay attention to that blue line. Drop it there. There we go. So I'm going to rename this button, even though we only have one. I'm just going to call it Start Button. Okay. We're going to change the text to Start. There we go. Alright, so I know we dealt with the canvas with a little bit, last lesson, but the canvas is pretty much the same thing as the stage in Scratch. And so what we're going to want to do, we're going to want to actually set up our canvas. But before we do that, I forgot, we're going to need a timer. And we're going to actually use this timer to make our fish move. Alright, so now that I added my timer, now we can go back and click on our stage. So you'll notice we have the canvas. And inside the canvas we have this thing called a stage. And then inside the stage we have these little sprites. So we have a sprite type. And you can think of a sprite type as a group of sprites. So in this game, we're going to have enemy sprites, and we're also going to have fish sprites, things that you want to catch, and then we're also going to have the player sprite. So in this case, a sprite type is nothing more than a group of sprites because, we're going to have more than one enemy, and, I'm not going to want to program every single enemy sprite. And so a sprite type or a group is going to be really helpful when it comes to programming and writing our code for our enemy sprites. And as we get into this lesson, it's going to make total sense. So, let's see. Okay, so it seems like we're going to want to program our player sprite. So let's just start with our player sprite. So I'm going to actually click on the sprite type. And remember, our sprite type is just our group. So we're going to just call this our player sprite type. And we can just call it player group if we really want to kind of get serious. But I'm going to call it sprite type because that's what it is. It's a sprite type. And you'll notice our sprite type, our player sprite type, has a picture of a beaver. And we can actually add in different pictures. So we can click here. And we can actually go through and we can add in another picture for our player sprite. So instead of that beaver, let's just go with the blue fish. And then we're going to hit add. So now we have our blue fish. And we can actually go down. We want our blue fish to be draggable because we want to be able to drag our sprite. And that's what's going to make us able to drag it. And I don't think I have any. Alright. So we got our fish. And like we said, I don't think we need to change very many properties of this. We do want it draggable. We do want it to ignore gravity. There shouldn't be any gravity. And of course, it's not going to be static, so we're going to be able to swim to move it. And I guess I should go through these so you know. So this is height and width, so you can change this number to 40 and you'll change the height of your fish. You can also change this to 100 to make it really wide. So these numbers changes the height and width of your fish. The angle lets you kind of rotate how you want them rotated, which direction. Just going to leave it at 0. We do want them to face to the right. Z doesn't really seem like it changes much, but I'm pretty sure that's like a level. I'm going to leave it alone. So here we have draggable, so that just lets us know if you want to be able to drag this sprite, and we do want to be able to drag this sprite. Passes through lets you know if you want this sprite to be able to pass through things. For this case, we're going to say yes. It's not going to really matter because we're actually going to set it through. Static means you won't be able to move it. You can ignore gravity. That just means if gravity is going on, this sprite will actually do gravity and fall. Fixed rotation means you want it to rotate off of one spot instead of all the way around. And then drawing means as the sprite's moving, is it drawing a line on the canvas? And we want that false, because if we didn't, it would be drawing lots of lines. One last thing I can teach you how to do, we go on our stage. We can actually set our background picture to our background. We can hit add. And right here, instead of scale, we can go stretch. We can make it look like our fish is underwater. Okay, so that's it. Pretty simple here.